Hey everybody, welcome back to the Fish Tank. We got a PTR video for you today. That's the public test realm. So if you're not aware, then every month before the patch goes live, a couple of weeks before that, there'll be a public test realm which allows us, the community, to test out the two new cards that are coming and the proposed balance changes, and crucially give our feedback on what we think with regards to the cards as well as the balance changes. So this is a real good way for the community to get involved and to help get the game balanced as well as it is. We always see people complaining about balance when the new season comes out, but hey, take that a step back, get involved in this, and then you won't have to complain because it will be a better balanced state when it goes live. So I'll put the links in the description to show you how to get involved. It's all really done via the Minion Masters Discord, or you can go direct to the link that I'll put in there, and basically it tells you how to get involved, how to get the game running on the pre-release version, the beta version, the PTR version, and also how to switch your game back. But anyway, enough waffling, let's find out what's in this. Okay, so this is going to be version 1.45, the second expansion in Vanguard, and it's going to go live a couple of weeks into September. So the two new cards, we've got the Frostberry Bearer, which is the bear that is shown on the news screen in the game at the moment, and the Highland Huntress. We're not going to go over those today, but if you want to check them out, you can go and get involved in the PTR and try them out for yourselves. So let's have a look at the changes that we're going to be looking. So, Demon Warrior, damage going up from 75 to 90. So remember, the Demon Warrior got switched from the 6 cycle to the 4 cycle version, and it gets twice as big instead of 3 times as big. It kind of underwhelming since that change, but this is designed to potentially rectify that. So damage going up to 90 from 75, and of course that's damage, doubled when she's activated, so 150 to 180. Feng the Wanderer getting an HP buff, 325 up to 350, so his base stats are better, and of course that means that he's going to get slightly better buffs with anything that gives him more HP, like a Growth Burst Shroom or a Spirit. Ghast, so whenever Ghast gets a kill, he spawns a skeleton close to him, assuming he's not on cooldown, and the summoned skeletons will gain Rush. That means they have no summoning sickness, so as soon as they spawn, they will be in action. Small buff, is it enough? Is it going to make Ghast much better? Probably not. Right, Ghost Turret. HP going up from 250 to 300. I think the duration is the same, so it's not going to last any longer, but it's going to be tankier whilst it's there. King Puff Trick Swap. I've been playing King Puff quite a bit this season, and this is a fairly welcome buff. So the cooldown's going down from 35 seconds to 30 seconds. For his Trick Swap, that's his perk 1. Magma Storm. Magma Storm getting a buff where you're going to get 13 meteors instead of 12. Small buff, might make it a little bit more played. It's definitely been a card that I've seen people play to counter the Shroom and that's going to get a little bit better. Now, Nirvir the Fallen, got those confused. Remember, Nirvir the Fallen starts as Nirvir the Slumbers, 4-mana removal spell in your deck. It's going to potentially be buffed from 80 damage to 100 damage. So that means it kills a lot more stuff than it did before. And remember, any kills it gets does count towards your 80 Spectral Essence Accursed Ascension count. So just very quickly, what it could kill at 100 damage that it couldn't kill at 80. Dragon Whelps, Ghost, Razor Squadron, Bounceberry Flingers, Chisma Boomstick, Jade Flingers, Spear Throwers, Zeppelin Bomber. So there's a lot that it can kill. So the removal is going to be more powerful, and of course that means you're going to get more credit towards your Accursed Ascension if you're using it on the same units. Right, Rampant Growth, going to get a bigger heal. So that's the heal is per Growth Burst Shroom. Remember, this consumes all your shrooms and then does the healing and the knockback, etc., the stun based on the number of shrooms you've consumed. So this is going to go up from 75 to 85. I feel like Rampant Growth, we haven't seen too much of that, especially in the last season. With regards to a lot of people playing Zenshi with Shroomama, Rampant Growth doesn't fit amazingly into that. Right, Slitherbound. So these are the little Slitherbound guys. Their poison duration is going up from 3 seconds to 3.5 seconds. Now, poison, I think, does 20 DPS, so this is going up from 60 to 70 damage. I assume that's all Slitherbound, so Chain Gang, Slitherbound, the slithers that you get from Slither Bind. So a buff overall to the slithery side of things. Snap Freeze. The freeze happens instantly. So instead of currently where you put the snap freeze down and then if a unit lingers in it for long enough it gets frozen, this is suggesting that the freeze happens instantly. I believe this change has been proposed before. The dev notes just say snappy, which is real helpful. But I feel like it got turned down before. I feel like it might get turned down again. Remember, we're going to try these changes out, the community, and we'll give our feedback. And based on that feedback, these changes may or may not make it into the final patch. Wolf Among Sheep. So their count's going up from 3 to 4. So that's 4 Legionnaires, one of which has lycanthropy. Dev notes, back to the original. Well, now once again it passes off as Legionnaires as it was intended. Well, remember, if you use Wolf Among Sheep, you do get the Wolf Howl. So if you're not noticing that and you're thinking it's just a regular Legionnaires card, then you're just not paying attention, or you're playing with no sounds on. So I'm not sure about this. It might just make regular Legionnaires irrelevant. But we'll see. Right. Sorry, I should have highlighted that. It might have been confusing. Right, reworks. Emergency Reserves. So this is the Emergency Reserve, the Rapid Response Reserves is the public name. So that is, remember, it reduces the cost of your opponent's cards. Currently in duos, it just reduces the cost of either a random player, a random opponent player, or just player one. It's probably just player one, whoever's the first one in the lobby on that side of things. But now it's going to alternate between the players. So they say here, not really a balance change, but it makes it more fun. Yes, I like that. Now here's an interesting one. Fireball. Damage going up from 180 to 200, but it's getting a 50% reduction on master damage. So it'll be 200 damage to units, but only 100 damage to master damage. And the devs say here, we wanted to increase its usefulness as removal slightly, while reducing its ability to fireball face enemies to death. So damage going up from 180 to 200. That means it will now kill the Musketeer, Stormy, and a Succubus that previously I don't think it would have. So it will kill a bit more, but it won't be so powerful to face. Now this should also mean that the Dragon Ball will receive this change, and also the Gambler's Ball should also receive this change from the Fireball side of things. I don't hate this. Just getting constantly Fireball to death is never a particularly fun time, so I think this makes it more about getting minion value from your spell and a bit of master damage rather than just sort of the other way around. Right, Grasping Thorns. On death, summon a skeleton for each enemy minion that died in it. Maximum 3. So the skeleton is the little skeleton, like the Morelia skeleton. So you can get up to 3 of those. But the damage is going down from 240 to 150, so massive damage reduction. So this is going to be more about the slow that it impacts, the horde clear, because it can still kill the horde at 150 damage. And of course it can give you those 3 little skeletons, so it can potentially stop a push and also take a bridge back. So what they've said here, we wanted to add some offensive capability to this defensive spell. Expect similar changes to defensive only cards. Not sure about that. Anything that is able to take bridges has a bit of a premium since they changed the bridge rules, so be interesting to see if that gets played or not, but that's a massive damage reduction. Right, Nether Step. So Nether Step is the Voidborn spell that nether steps your units towards the enemy's tower. So now it's going to summon X amount of swarmers to where the minions are teleported to, where X is the amount of Voidborn cards in your hand, up to a maximum of 3. Swarmers are the little swarmers that you get from the Swarmers card, of course, or Morgul's Mark. Not the elite swarmer, just the little ones. No longer invokes, has a bigger AoE, so you can move more stuff with it. And again, the dev notes say we want to add even more offensive capabilities to this underplayed card that is still in line with its design. If you've been involved in the PTR, there have been various different suggestions that have come through with regards to Netherstep. This seems the one that's mostly in line with how we always know Netherstep to be. So same as before, but you teleport your units forward and you get some extra swarmers as well. Now, here's a very interesting one. Sapphire Pebble. Now, a change very, very similar to this was again in the PTR previously. Didn't get the votes, the confidence of the community to go through, but it's back and it's slightly different. So, Sapphire Pebble, remember that's the building that has quite a long ranged attack with Myriad and so on and so forth. So, the mana's going to go down from 2 to 1. They're going to remove the Myriad bonus. So it still has Myriad, but it doesn't have the bonus. The bonus was where if you played them together, you got a reduction. Now, it's very different to how it was before. Previously, it was just a static kind of defensive turret. Now, this suggestion is when it attacks, it throws its head. Okay? So it throws its head for 100 damage. So the head has 100 damage and 50 health, I think. So it throws its head, right? And then where the head lands... Hold on, whoa. Okay, this could be slightly different, actually. Because before, they had it through its head, and then where the head landed, it then had to... if it wasn't killed within the time, it would then respawn the Sapphire Pebble at that location. So you kind of got this moving forward of it. But it doesn't specify it here. So it says, throws its head on play, destroys self... and grows a new pebble. So what I think that means is it grows a new pebble in its same location. So it looks like it's going to do more damage, but probably slower. I would have to check this out in the PTR to get an exact idea of how it works. But I think from reading it, that's how it works. And of course, you guys can test the PTR and see what you think. So does 100 damage up from 60. And then it destroys itself, grows a new one after 5 seconds. So, I assume that's only a one-time thing. Otherwise, it would just be there constantly. Does it keep replacing itself until it's killed? Unsure. Dev notes, we're not entirely happy with how Sapphire Pebble Myriad bonus works, as it both encourages you to play defensively and wait around with the Sapphire Pebble in your hand. This version allows us to both retain the Myriad. So, Sapphire Pebble was the first card, I think, that had Myriad. Reduce mana cost and add some offensive capabilities and try something a little different. So, not 100% sure how this works. I'll test it out and let you guys know, but test it out yourself and let me know as well. And if anyone has tested it already, let us know in the comments. Right, nerfs, aimbot. The tech cost is going up from 30 to 35. Remember, that's to give it the marksmanship, stage 1, and the nat, stage 2. So the tech cost is going up from 60 overall to 70 if you want to get it a fully teched out aimbot. Just reading what I'm looking at. So that means that if you're just right on like the specific amount of tech you're generating for that aimbot, you're gonna have to either get that buff less often, let the full buff less often, or you're gonna have to put a little bit more Outlander faction into your deck to get that. So more expensive, maybe restricting the deck building a little bit as well, or just making it less efficient. Battle Shihao. So we saw earlier Feng getting a HP increase. Battle Shihao is getting a decrease down to the same number, so 350 health. If you watch my latest meta video, you will have seen that the Battle Shihao, Zen Chi, Growth Burst Shroom has been kind of everywhere with the Shroom Ummers, and this is probably off of the back of that, so health reduction there. And finally, Shroom Ummer Shumi, again that was everywhere in the patch, so shields can no longer trigger the split. So remember, they split into 2 when they get a buff, a positive buff, a positive permanent buff. Well, is a shield permanent? Let's just say a positive buff. So the dev notes here, this opens up Shumi to be more useful outside of continuously shielding them. It's possible she needs a buff with this change, but we want to be careful so that it doesn't dominate again. Okay. So that means she'll still split on things like Growth Burst Shroom, on Rage, Berserker Rage, on Spirit, but not on Shield. And I think that's quite important, because if people start splitting them and don't use the shield, then they're suddenly far more punishable by a lot of spells. So for example, Chain Lightning, previously if they were splitting and they all had shields, couldn't really do anything. Again, sort of the Fireball, we've seen the Fireball getting a buff as well. Again, you couldn't really use that because they had the shields, but it seems like that may not be a thing. So interesting. Again, this is all proposed change that they may or may not go through based on the feedback that the devs get from the PTR. So please consider getting involved. The more people we get in the PTR, the better we can test the changes. We can get more matches played, more feedback done, and hopefully when things end up in the live version, they'll be as balanced as possible. So again, check down in the description to find all the links to get involved, and maybe I'll see you there. My name's Bad as a Fish, and as always, I'm awkwardly waving.